Hey guys, welcome to another video for recordingacappella.com. This is a video that I promised to actually do a couple of weeks ago to some people on Facebook, and sorry that I'm just getting around to it now. It's about vocal percussion and how we get some of the sounds that we do on recordings. And I just wanted to show you my process really quickly. So that you get an idea of what goes into making that really big sort of consistent sound that you hear from a lot of pro a cappella recordings. Okay, so I've got just a short snippet, 8-bar snippet of live percussion track that I recorded with a college group just recently, actually, just about a month ago. So you can see here, I've got the live take of it. I'll just play it real quickly so you can hear what's going on. Okay. So you can hear it's just recorded with a normal large diaphragm condenser vocal mic, the exact same mic I'm using to record vocals. I think with this one it was a Neumann U87, so a bit nicer microphone, but I would do the same thing with a Rode NT1A or anything less expensive like that. I don't even think that I changed the input level or the distance from the microphone. You know, same pop filter like you can see on the video for the Rode NT1A microphone. So yeah, real simple, you know, and you get pretty much all the sounds. Just listen to it again. Okay, so when I get a track like this from a group where I record it myself, like the first thing I do is I listen through it and I notice, okay, well, so the timing's not good. It's pretty good, but you know, there's some pushing and pulling, not really rushing or dragging, but you know, if you've got someone who's using a click track for the first time or a drummer who's not really got their time down yet, you're going to have that. So you got to fix that. I can hear some inconsistent sounds. There are things like here where they take a big breath. Okay, so these are all things that I'm noticing when I go after it. So a lot of times what we'll call this track is the spit track because there's lots of spit and breathing and humanness to the track. You can hear that it's a real person. So we do want to keep that, and that's a standard approach to vocal percussion these days. It's in recordings. It's probably the main approach we take. So the first thing I'm going to do before I start cleaning this up is I'm going to run this little section through just the standard, you know, one band EQ that comes with Pro Tools. You'll have the same thing with most DAWs, digital audio workstations. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set a high pass filter at the most steep octave, okay, or the most steep curve, 24 dB per octave cut. And I'm going to set the cut at 40 hertz because in reality, there's not much happening below 40 hertz that's useful. Even in drums, and on a live take like this where we're going to put some samples under it, you really don't need anything below that. And the thing that this is going to do, and I'm going to render that there, you could see how the curve changed. Let me go back. Look at how the waveforms change when I process this. Okay? What that's basically doing is it's cleaning up some of the noise that's in the track and making it easier for Pro Tools to detect some of the beats, okay? Because we're going to actually use Pro Tools to clean this up. So once we've done that, I can close my plugin there. And I've rendered this, and you can see the clip name change to show that it's been EQ'd. What we're going to do, you can do this a couple ways in Pro Tools. I'm going to show you the way that I use. I'm going to go over here and turn on the Elastic Audio plugin to the rhythmic setting because we're not dealing with like a guitar or piano. We're not dealing with a monophonic instrument like a voice or a bass guitar or something like that. So I'm going to select rhythmic, and then I'm going to go to view here, and I'm going to change the view to warp. Okay, and now what that's going to show me is it's going to show me these warp points where Pro Tools has gone through and detected points where the transient is the highest. Now the transient is the attack of the note, beat, whatever. I think we've used that term before, but just in case. It's basically the attack of the note. And it's detected those. Now I can also modify this. Let me see if there's a good one here that gave me too many warp points that I don't need. Like here, I don't really need a warp point. This is one beat, but it's, you know, it's given me this secondary one here. You can also see it's detected a breath there. What I can do is I can actually go into the clip menu, elastic properties for the clip, select the clip, and I can change the sensitivity of the elastic audio plugin. So it's actually going to take away some of these warp points. I find that like 92 at the level that I record, so if you've watched the recording level video that we put out a couple weeks ago, if you're recording it about that level, 92, as you can see, gets rid of those 2 warp points that we didn't need. Okay, so we've got that, and I can close the elastic properties window now. And then what I'm going to do, if you bring up, let's see, I think it's under event operations, quantize, or Alt 0. This gives you the ability to quantize MIDI. It also gives you the ability to quantize audio in either in Beat Detective or Elastic Audio like we're using here. And now when I'm quantizing audio, I'm thinking, okay, what's the smallest subdivision? See, quantize grid is the subdivision that I want to think about. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our quarter note. And I've got 16th notes in the groove. Something like that. And so I'm thinking that's probably the resolution that I want to set this quantize grid at, as a 16th note. Now Pro Tools defaults to 16th note. Now you see options down here, swing. Swing actually gives you the ability to humanize or make more of a groove than you normally would have. You know, like a set grid of 16th notes would sound like, you know, really straight. If you started to swing that, say you swung that 100% like this says, you'd get something like, you know, it'd be like that, almost like triplets, okay? Now on something like this that is a relatively straight groove, what I'm going to want to do is I want it straight, but I also want it to feel like a human being. So I'll set my percentage at not all the way swung. I'll do something very little, like 15%, okay? And then I'm going to, you know, make sure I select my clip, and I'm going to apply that. And you can see that some points change. They change to these white sort of points. And so I've got those set. And now what you'll hear is that it's in time. We'll go back to before we did that. Hear how we had some rushing? And we go back and we quantize that again. And then we get okay, something nice and in time. And now what you need to do is once you've quantized it, you're going to want to go through and fix some of the quantizing. Sometimes it doesn't get everything right. So let's just check this real quick. So there's something weird there that we don't need. And let me, first of all, I'm going to go up here and change my grid to 16th notes so I can see these 16th notes. We might end up replacing that, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay. I think this is probably, yeah, see where it condensed? It condensed these 16th notes. So if I just grab that little point there, I think that's probably, see? Just condensed it a little bit. I mean, sometimes I have to fix things like that. Okay? So Pro Tools actually did a pretty good job in figuring that out. Okay? So we've got that, and once you're happy with the groove, you know, we could go even further. If we wanted to be silly, we could, you know, do something like this at 60%, and you'll hear the difference. Let's, oh, I wonder why that's not working. Never mind. Don't worry about that. So we'll go back to where we were before. There we go. Every once in a while, weird things happen. That's the life of recording. Okay, so once you've got that set, you can actually go over here and click on this little icon, hit none to disable the plugin, and then you want to commit. You want to commit to what you changed. Okay, great. So now, let's go in here, change our grid back to a bar. We don't need to see that. Now there's a couple bars that sounded goofy. Yeah, like that guy right there. There's some weird sounds in there, but the bar before was exactly the same. So we're just going to copy that. I just duplicated. You can copy it over. But now we've got... Okay, and I also didn't like that fourth bar. Okay, we got a breath there we don't need. Okay, another breath. Okay, we got a little fill there in the last bar. Okay, so now we want to go and get some samples. So let's work on the snare first. You'll hear the snare occurs pretty much on every beat 2 and 4. And what I'm looking for is probably the most consistent snare. Yeah, this one sounds good right here. So why don't we just keep this guy? I'm going to make it a little smaller. So I'm just going to grab the 8th note here. Okay. And I want to replace that one with something that's a little different. Okay. Something that's different, not the same exact sample. So let's drag this guy back to the first snare. Okay. I'm going to turn off the spit because we're just going to listen to. Okay. Got kind of a long tail there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that off a little bit and we're going to fade it. Okay, because what we're looking for with the samples is we're looking to get something that's really consistent and hits it hits hard, has a good punch to it, a good attack. Okay, that's a little long. It's a little farty too, but we'll deal with that. Okay, so I'm going to render that. We've got that fade. Now the other thing we're going to want to do, you can see it's still pretty soft. With these samples, we're going to want to gain it, so turn it up in volume. Okay. And make it louder, make it hit harder. I'm going to go ahead and render that too. So now we've got this nice loud snare. I would do some other things like go in with my EQ and find, let's make this a little smaller, find the fundamental. That's a good one right there. And I might go ahead and bring in a high pass filter, because again, with like a snare, I'm not going to need much. Maybe give it a little shimmer. Okay. It's not the best snare in the world, but you know, it'll do for what we need. And then what you can do is, you know that all these snares are on 2 and 4 for the most part. But so if you listen to this bar, let's listen to this bar over and over again, and you'll hear how it makes this first snare hit harder. Okay, still sounds like a human, so we're gonna copy that, and now we get this nice lovely bar. Okay, where we've got good snares, and then we're going to go ahead and copy that. And I'm not going to worry about this fill at the end. Basically, you're just going to copy that under the right hit. Okay, so now let's go to the kick drum. So some of these kicks are pretty noisy. Kind of spitty. But we want one that has a nice attack. Let's just go with this guy here. Okay. So again, we're going to pull that down to the kick track, and we're going to copy something in its place to make sure we have that. Okay. Okay. So let's drag our sample back over here to the beginning, to the first one, and you know, we got some spit on the end that we don't need. I'm going to fade that. Okay, render that guy. I'm going to turn it up. So we're going to, we're going to get it basically to where it's hitting really high on our meter, you can see here. Okay, we'll render that. Maybe fade it one more time. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then we're going to take our EQ again. And this time, we're going to give it, oh, we don't want to use the low shelf. So let's bring this guy over here. Right at about maybe 60 or so. You can see here at about 60 is a good place for a nice thump. Okay, and we're going to make that nice and tight and give it, okay, here we get a little bit of the other thing we're not going to need is a lot of the high end, because we're just going for attack. Okay, so now when you hear this bar again, okay, you hear that hit on the first beat, it's much more consistent. Now listen to the whole bar again. And if I mute that, okay, again. So we just get a lot more consistent of a hit. And then if we, let's just put it on a loop of 4 bars. Without the samples. sound with the samples. Okay, so it's much stronger, right? And then we're going to balance it a little bit. You know, you'll have to maybe turn the kick down sometimes. You know, it just depends on how the balance is. But that's basically it. That's the basic approach to how most vocal percussion is done these days. There are some other approaches that are being used, in particular pentatonics uses a different approach with Kevin, where it's a lot of layering, and I might do a video on that eventually. But this is what most vocal percussion you hear these days has on it in a mix, you know, besides reverb and compression and things like that. But this is the basic step for getting it to sound really consistent and really punchy. So thanks for watching the video. Go to recordingacappella.com and sign up for our email list. This week we're going to start sending special posts, special videos to our email list. So if you want to see that exclusive content, you got to join the list for some great stuff like that and other stuff eventually. Thanks again for watching, and we will hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.